Hey, welcome to Equity Guru. I'm Chris Parry. You all know me as the guy with the brown face and the white hair. With me today, Meni Morim, CEO of what used to be my favorite target, Namaste. Those that have been around the weed business for a while know Namaste well, infamously. Um, Today, the company is Lifeist Wellness, LFST, on the Venture Exchange. And man, first of all, well done for even taking this interview because I kicked the shit out of your precursor. The man bun
Yeah,
did not have a good time with me. And
yeah. I'm a little bit concerned coming into the interview, but I hope it'll be fair.
well, you know what? The reason we're even having the interview is because I noticed that you put some news out recently and thought, who the hell is Lifeist Wellness? And then tracked back and realized, holy crap, Namaste still exists. And
Yeah.
I honestly had stopped looking at it because I thought assumed, into the dirt, big explosion, people screaming. But you came in the ashes of Namaste.
Mm.
You came in after there'd been legal threats, there'd been settlements, there'd been revelations of things that weren't particularly,
Mm.
we'll say, legal, maybe, definitely not ethical. And so, a lot of people lost money on Namaste or
Yep.
maybe continue to be underwater. But you came in because there was nobody left to take the
Mm.
the the mantle, essentially. So the fact that you're still here is really intriguing to me because there's got to be more fun things you could do with a cheese grater than stay in as a
Sorry.
CEO.
Yes. I
Um,
sometimes think that myself. Yeah.
what have you been through over the last few years?
Man, it hasn't been simple. And the question that you've posed here is a question that many people have asked me. And to be completely honest, I've asked myself as well. It's been a while. And it's not that there haven't been opportunities, right? People reached out. There were certain things that came to me as something that I could do. And if we later on maybe ask another question as to why, I can think about it. But what we've been through over the last few years, I can describe in no other way than a roller coaster. Honestly, I think that there have been some very, very low lows, some days that have been exceptionally difficult. Um, but there are some days that there's a great sense of accomplishment. We have been doing things that honestly we can stand and say that we should be proud of. We have been pushing the company, in my view, in the right trajectory. I, again, always want things to happen faster and stronger, and I'm never satisfied. But if we look at the industry around us, if we look at the cannabis industry in particular, but the overall markets in general, these are not simple times. And the fact that we're able to push the company towards the right future, growing all the numbers that are meaningful, I think helps offset those lows in the roller coaster. So yeah, it hasn't been simple. It had definitely been a difficult journey.
This was $1 billion company at one point, and we can argue that that was irrational exuberance and that the underlying numbers never actually made any sense for that. But your predecessor did establish a cult of personality
Mm.
with these videos and promises and nurse parties and weirdness. It- you're, I'm guessing, judged against that market cap. That anything you do by a lot of people is going to be considered to be not good enough because you're not where the company used to be. Realistically, though, this was always a company that was making as much or maybe less money than it is currently
Mm.
for that market cap. So, I kind of look at it now as like, okay, if everything's rational now, if everything is as it should be, a $13 million market cap, but doing good business
Yeah.
is an opportunity.
Mm. Mm. I
If
tend
you're
to agree with
somebody
you.
who's trustworthy, and I assume that since you've been in this job since what is it? Was it 2019, 2018?
February 2019 is when I took the role formally. I joined the company in May of 2018. Yeah.
So you've been through the crapness of the cannabis market, the crapness of this company trying to right itself, and COVID in the middle of all that.
Oh yeah.
And you're still there. So, like I got to give credit where it's due. I would have been long gone. I think 99 out of 100 people would have been long gone. What is it about you that made you want to say, I'm going to fix this shit that someone else ruined? That has none of the negative has been my fault. I'm going to stick around and fix someone else's problem.
Man, you don't ask simple questions, do you? Um, it's a blend of a few things. I think first and foremost, I dislike failing. I genuinely do. I dislike failing.
But this isn't even your failure. This is someone else's failure that you got shoved into to make right.
The moment I took on the challenge, it became my responsibility. That's it. I don't leave something until I'm confident that it is the right time to leave. And that could be a situation where I firmly believe that I'm no longer the right person, for example, to continue moving this company forward. I'm not married to this role, as you said earlier. It's been challenging. There have been other opportunities, right? But I think that personally, once you take on a challenge, there is a commitment that you made to the people around you, my colleagues, my team, our shareholders, to deliver what we promised. The second aspect of it is that, look, I have a financial incentive to make this successful. Now, again, if you compare apples to apples and opportunity cost and other things that I might have been able to do, yeah, maybe I would have been able to make more money somewhere else. But I have to think of all these things together. So taking my personal desire to not fail, wanting to come through and follow through on my commitments, the fact that there is a financial incentive tied to this, and I think there are two more things. One more thing is that I did learn a lot, and I'm grateful for the learnings that I've had. So again, personally, I love learning new things. I love challenges. When things are hard, it excites me. Obviously, I want that balance. I want things to balance out. It's not that I'm a masochist and I want things to always be difficult. So that's a contributing factor. And I think that all those things combined create a package that kind of helped me overcome those difficult times. Sometimes I had doubts. Some days are better. But this is the blend, I think, of the personal traits that I personally have, the commitment that I feel that kind of made me make this continuous decision to not give up.
Man, I got to hand it to you. That must be a difficult decision to continue with every day. You got into the pilot seat while this thing was in a free fall, and you've managed to, I won't say pull out of it, but you've managed to cruise at like high enough that the belly of the plane has not yet hit the ground. For the last
We're replacing the
years.
engine mid-flight. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
definitely
right.
replacing the engine mid-flight as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the other side of that is, you're very close to getting it to a place that very few cannabis companies can say, which is, and we'll get into why maybe you're not a cannabis company per se, but companies that have that origin story, you've seen bodies floating by left and right, the big guys, the little guys, the medium guys that have just ejected and decided, this isn't for me anymore.
Yeah.
You're still swinging. And that in itself is a win. Because I would have bet money that this company would have been to zero 3 years ago, before even the rest of the cannabis companies died, before even COVID came along. You're still in there swinging. Now, part of the still in there swinging is it's not strictly a cannabis company anymore. Talk about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And man, I can get into details. So I rely on you to kind of shepherd us in the right direction that you think would be the most interesting. But one of the things that we saw is what's happening today. COVID, we could not predict. COVID was a curveball that we had to deal with. And that was very challenging in a almost pharmaceutical grade manufacturing facility. That is hours of talking about how we address that. But one of the things that we saw in the market, we said, look, the regulatory landscape in Canada and beyond Canada is uncertain. There's a lot of
For cannabis.
unclarity. Yeah, for cannabis, very, very uncertain.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unclarity as to how things are going to develop. You spoke about the market cap in the past. Look, let's not. You're saying that it wasn't justified in the past. I probably agree with you, in the same way that I agree that it's not justified where we are today. But it wasn't really connected to fundamentals, right? There was a lot of hype around in the industry. So if you look at fundamentals, if you look at what a company needs to do to be successful, and we looked at the parameters of the market, it became very clear to us that it will be very difficult to create a truly scalable, long-term, sustainable company. So what we did is we set in motion a process to shift the company. If you look back, we were a hardware company. We weren't even a cannabis company. We took the cannabis division from $0 in revenue through the era of negative gross margins to ever-improving gross margins and became a cannabis company. And then we set in motion this process of shifting our positioning, shifting the perception of who we are from being a cannabis company with some sort of exposure to wellness to being a wellness company that has cannabis exposure. And strategically within that repositioning, we established a new division. We established a division which is a Nutraceuticals division that operates mainly in the US. And we found that we have a lot of strengths that we can borrow from our cannabis experience into that division and create effectively a hedge that still has connective tissue between those two divisions. It's still CPG, it's still wellness, it's less regulated, so we can take a lot of the learnings and a lot of the capabilities that we have today to run that business, and potentially in the future, when things become a little bit more clear, a little bit more certain, we can cross-pollinate between those divisions and perhaps bring some of the cannabis components into the nutraceuticals business and vice versa. And creating that positioning, that position of effectively being a company that is a wellness company with a portfolio of companies within it, allowed us to create another division and potentially create another one. And these are the things that we believe that we do have strength in, taking ideas and taking them from 0 to 1, creating a reality where these ideas are validated or invalidated, grow them, and then take them further. So that's really, I would say, that the background and the impetus as to why we made these changes and how we see ourselves today.
So you're in the nutraceutical space now, essentially. There are a lot of companies out there that did a little pivot into the psychedelic space, which, as we all know, isn't really a space yet. Although there are stores around Vancouver that openly sell psychedelics over the counter.
Yes.
As I experienced this past weekend, I had a cocaine coffee. How about that?
That sounds pretty cool. I actually heard of that place.
Yeah.
I didn't have the chance to visit it, but I heard of that place.
My tongue's been tingling ever since. But it's as we say, it's an evolving world. Regulatory wise, the regulations are always well behind what's happening on the street. What you're able to do with psychedelics is that, but what you're able to do with nutraceuticals is a different story. There are a whole lot of people out there that are now exploring that space. Even if we ignore the microdoses and the clinics and all the other stuff that people talk about, just straight up getting in the morning, having a coffee, and instead of just having coffee beans, having other additives to it, or having natural things that lean against psychedelics but not into psychedelics. And if those psychedelics become regulated, you're the first cab off the rank, I imagine.
So look, I'll answer that bit and talk a little bit more about nutraceuticals and where we positioned ourselves. So when psychedelics a couple of years ago became a very popular theme within cannabis companies, we took steps to position ourselves in a way to be able to quickly leverage our position and quickly take advantage of any opportunities that might arise if and when the regulatory landscape changes, meaning we applied for a dealer's license, we have our schematics approved, everything is in place. But personally, I don't want to build a company on hype. I want to build a company based on fundamentals. Yeah, we have plan A, B, C, and we have contingencies in place. So we applied for that dealer's license. Since then, the psychedelic market in Canada didn't evolve the way that everybody else evolved. So we put on hold any type of plans with respect to our psychedelics expansion because I don't want to set money on fire.
Sure.
I still have that optionality, and I will take advantage of it if and when things change. Now, nutraceuticals, and I'll keep this brief and allow you to determine if we need to speak about this further, is a very, let's say, saturated market. And it is quite difficult to succeed in it. However, I think that the way that we are differentiated, and it has been, in my view, proven with the launch of our nutraceuticals brand and our flagship product, when you create products that are backed by science, transparent, and you're not trying to sell, a placebo effect to anyone, and you're very honest about, hey, this is not for everyone. It might work for you, but might not work for someone else. You can carve out a segment of the market that will appreciate you for that and will continuously buy your product. Now, the flagship product that we have, which is the first one that we launched, and the key one is our cellular health product. It is backed by preclinical studies. We have been seeing and receiving really good qualitative responses in the market to what we've launched. There is trust within the brand and what we represent. And we are currently working on a very robust and honestly very exciting product roadmap to build on that qualitative success and now start focusing on quantitative measures. In fact, there is one particular product that I would love if you would have me come back and speak about it in a couple of weeks or months that we've been working on very intensely, that taps into a very, very relevant, in my view, untapped market today that we have been doing a lot of research into. There's a lot of science and data that is backing it, and we haven't really seen a solution that addresses this type of let's say, situation or status within the human condition. So again, I know I'm being a little bit vague, but we're identifying places where there is a gap using data, science, and transparency, and that's why I think we'll be successful in that sector.
It's just looking at the self product, CELLF, the cellular health nutraceutical gel. Give me the 35 words or less on what that is and why it's important.
So yeah, 35 words or less.
Well, 50 words maybe.
I'm very bad at speaking very little. But if I speak of it as the non-scientist, self is your daily immunity support. It's not a multivitamin that you take and supposed to, be a jack of all trades, master of none. We have worked and developed a formula that is transparent. You can see exactly what's in there. The magic is in the formulation, and we're working with a manufacturer that works with us in an oxygen-deprived environment. They actually have a patent that has been awarded to the process in which we build this product. And effectively, what it does, it is an anti-inflammatory that promotes the creation of ATP, right? The compound within your cells that generates energy. And what we believe this product creates, or the feeling or the effect that it creates, and this is what's been validated by people, is you sleep better, and therefore you're more energized the day after. It's an anti-inflammatory, so less joint pain, and it allows you to recover better from physical activity and have more focus throughout the day. So I drink less coffee. I'm alert most of the day. I don't have a crash. I sleep much better, and I'm able to engage in more physical activity that before I would need to take a day break between those things. So again, trying to speak about it in layman's terms, what the effect that it has on me, that is the product we wanted to create. And it actually works really well. Most people that try this product stick with it. Our churn with this product is very, very low. So it's something that I believe in. Right now, if I get into it a little bit, I think that one of the key reasons that we see in our churn analysis is that the price is a little bit high. So people say it does work for me, but the cost is a little bit high. We've been working to address that, and I hope that the next version we release will be just as effective, and we'll be able to reduce the cost, and we'll be able to roll that cost to our consumers to be able to provide that healthier lifestyle that we're striving to provide.
So these end results for this product, it reminds me a lot of the promise of CBDs and other aspects of the cannabis market back in the day, when people were forced to talk about the medical side rather than getting high. Also, not dissimilar to some psychedelic products that are out there as well. It's sort of all in the same ballpark. So I see what you're saying by making this a wellness company and bringing in aspects of your experience over the last several years. How do you scale it?
So that's a great question. I'm actually happy you asked that. The way that, again, personally, my belief, and this is how we're building the strategy around it, is that you need to expand your product offering and start cross-selling products to consumers that believe in your brand. You create trust, and now you start looking at the problem that you want to solve and effectively start from the consumer and go back. We're not trying to really saying, okay, we have CBD, let's figure out what to do with it. We do the other way around. We look at what are moments in everyday life that need support. In our modern day situation, where we have professionals working from morning to night, people, let's speak about Adderall as an example. It's almost a pandemic, right? It became so common that I spoke with the CEO of a tech company a while back, and he brought up something. He said, so I had a situation a few weeks ago. One of my key managers missed a deadline, and it was an important deadline. I went to them and I asked, why did you miss that deadline? And his answer was, well, you haven't heard of the Adderall shortage? And the CEO was like, I did, but is that an acceptable answer? So I'm not here to argue if it's acceptable or it's not acceptable. I don't know if that individual had a prescription or didn't, but we all know that these compounds are being used even without a prescription. But is it good for you? There are a lot of side effects. It doesn't fit for everyone, and there are issues around it. So if we can find natural products that deliver similar results without the side effects, I think we're doing something amazing in this world. So if we go back to the question, if you look at the moments in life that people need support in, we want to solve those problems, and we're going to expand our product category to do exactly that. So if self is our daily support product, we want to look at products such as focus, right? Let's say I'm coming into a very difficult interview with Chris, who's going to ask me some tough questions. I take a big cup of coffee, but I might get jittery, so maybe I need something else. Okay, now it's time to relax, right? Some people might go grab a glass of wine, smoke a joint. Some people might not want to do that, so you might need a wind down product. Did a heavy workout in the middle of the day. COVID did all of that to us, right? You did a big workout and you have to go back to your family or go back to work, but you're exhausted. So you need something to help you recover. All of these are moments in life that need a solution. So if I look at the software notion of product market fit and creating a lean approach to product development, first identify a problem, develop something that you believe will solve it, build, measure, learn constantly. And that is the phase that we're in right now with Micra, after we built the brand, built the trust, built the first product and the flows.
Got it. Okay. Let's go back to your base, which is, I think, Cannmart. Back in the day, Cannmart, the promise was it'll be an online sales platform. You come here to get your weed products and we'll deliver it to you and it'll be great. It's evolved a little over the years. What does Cannmart look like today?
Yeah, good memory. Cannmart today is very, very different. Cannmart today is quite different. Right now, within Cannmart, we have 3 main revenue streams or categories in which we operate. I'll start with the least important and finish with the most important one, which is a bit more complex. We don't do any flower. We never cultivated but we did used to buy product, store it, process it, and sell it.
Right.
That is really difficult. For anyone who understands the cannabis industry, you have to be able to move stock very quickly, and you have to figure out biological asset depreciation. It's so complex, and you have so many write-offs. So if you look at our financial statements, our balance sheet is not full of inventory that will need to be written down. Our write-downs to date have been, in the last, say, I would say 18 months, have been minimal. So flower, very small portion of our revenue. And what we do there is we facilitate deals. We mostly drop ship, or if there's anything opportunistic, we connect parties, because what we're really good at in this context is sales. The second aspect is we have a very strong in-house brand, Royalty, which is broken into two categories: distillate and extract. Distillate is the second category. We don't manufacture distillate. It is a commodity. We constantly see that price going down. So we implement a very standard model within any manufacturing industry, where we have a brand and we have co-manufacturers that we contract. We have multiples of them. We procure the distillate from them. They fill for us. In some cases, we do the packaging, and in some cases, they do a drop shipping. And we have high volume, relatively lower margin in this category, but it's a commodity. Lastly, and most importantly, and this is what Cannmart really is today, is a BHO extract production and sales facility. We have a very strong sales and marketing team, but we also equally have a very strong product development and effectively science team. BHO is very different than distillate. Distillate, you take flower, you throw it in an extractor, repeat, you get distillate. When you try to produce things like diamonds, live resin, liquid diamond vapes, shatter, it is a complex process. It's a balance between a science and an art. And that is why there is, I would say, 12 to 15 facilities in Canada, similar to ours, that are able to produce what we produce. This is why we're seeing higher margin in these products, margins that are not being eroded. And this is what we are focusing on. So we're constantly, similar to Micro, expanding our product offering. We started with live resin, and today we offer wax, crumble, live resin, shatter, diamonds, etc. And that is really what we're focusing on: in-house manufacturing of these complex extracts that garner a much higher margin, and the sales and distribution of those products. That is what Cannmart is today.
So more B2B sales than B2C.
Completely B2C.
If I think back to when extracts were first a thing in Canada, when everyone was like, oh my God, we can do all these things if we can extract. And there was maybe 2 or 3 guys that had the equipment and the know-how to do it. And then 6 months later, everyone had a machine that had red and green lights and went ding and claimed that they were an extractor. We don't hear about any of that shit anymore. That was just like, we've got 16 machines coming. We'll dominate the market. And then silence. So the fact that you guys are still in there swinging with actual business, that's a pretty good sign. Like if you came to market just as an extraction shop, with the number of partners that you have, with the track record that you've got, I imagine you might get that $13 million market cap just on the basis of that.
I don't disagree. And you're absolutely right with that analysis. There were so many of them. And this is why it's a race to the bottom in the distillate side, because it's not complex. You buy an ethanol or CO2 extractor, you have those machines with the blinking lights, and you just keep repeating it.
Right.
But with shatter, if you don't have the right yields, you'll have no margins. With live resin, you have to buy quality flash frozen biomass. And then you have to remove it from the extractor and put it in an oven and bake it in a vacuum oven at exactly the right temperature for exactly the right time. For diamonds, you have to put it in the centrifuge and then grow those crystals on the diamonds. We do trial runs for every new product we release, but we're still able to release products very quickly and at very high quality. You can also see we have almost no returns, because we use data to determine what it is we produce. We work very closely with our provincial partners and the retailers. So everything is very data-driven. And it is tough to succeed in the cannabis industry. Margins are very tight. Health Canada doesn't make life easy. The CRA does not make life easy. And you have a very, very strong legacy market, let's call it, that is not regulated. They operate very freely. They don't pay taxes, and prices are much cheaper. So it's hard to compete, very, very hard to compete. And this is why you're seeing all those bodies floating around everywhere.
Yeah.
But I'm comfortable saying that we figured out how to make money in this industry. And I always, when I speak to the team, I said, listen, it's an endless storm. It's like the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. There is a storm. We're in a tiny boat in the middle of the storm. But when we come out of this storm, we're going to have a mountain of shrimp. And we are going to be a very strong player in the market, because those who survive will win.
Well, this is one of the interesting things I think about the situation you find yourself in is, the tyranny of low expectations. Nobody expects you to win. Nobody expects Lifeist to stick around. Nobody expects you to get close to being profitable because of where you've come from and what you've had to deal with. So almost every day that you wake up and your throat isn't slit is a win.
It's sad to say, but you're right. Yeah.
Like, every bit of success that you have going forward is just it's cream, because the fact that you're still alive and still swinging in there for the shareholders that bought in back in the day, it's a man, like if it all turns over tomorrow and you have to walk away from it, I think you get to wear this as a victory and a demonstration that you're somebody that in as a guardian of people's investment dollars is trustworthy. And there's
No,
not a lot
I
of guys
appreciate
on
that.
the public markets that can say that, like they come in, they come out with an IPO, it doesn't go right, they get out, they leave it for someone else to pick up the pieces, they go to the next one, doesn't work out. Like there are guys that have got 18, 19, 20 pubcos under their belt, all failures, and people still give them money for the 21st.
Yeah, and their personal bank accounts are padded. Look, that hasn't escaped me. I see that, right?
And you're like the guy that has like a very different record that I think you're going to carry positively going forward. And that is you're the guy that doesn't stop swinging. And I can count on one hand the number of those guys I've encountered out there in the public markets in Canada. Like it just isn't a thing. So I'm, today, as somebody who has taken a running shit on your company historically, like a 50-page takedown, uh, giving a guy a nickname, your predecessor, that he's never going to shake. I give you all the credit in the world, man, for still sticking it out. And I will support you. And I hope investors support you. Like I hope people that are sitting around there, sitting on some cash, they still like the cannabis market, but they don't have a lot of good targets out there. I hope they give you $1,000 just as a gamble. Because if you do pull this off, right, not only just staying alive, but if you do get it to a point somewhere in the near future where you can say, so profitable, man, to have done that from where you started will have been like climbing a mountain. To come in there with like $10 million of investment and start from scratch and get profitable, that's an achievement. To do it from the flaming shit fire that you inherited, that's, there ought to be an award.
Look, thank you. It's first and foremost, thank you. I appreciate it. Look, I can't say that we didn't deserve your previous comments. I hope that we can prove that we deserve your praise today and continue to make an effort. Every company and every person gets the reward or punishment for what they've done. The deck was definitely stacked against us. And again, I'll be honest and humble and say that a lot of the things that many people said about the company, yourself included, were not necessarily wrong. And it's been very difficult every day to change things. And while we're not there yet, man, we will not stop fighting until this is in a place that we can say we succeeded and it's stable. And I'll do my best.
You had some recent news where you had an acquisition, and an all-stock acquisition at that, right? So the thing with an all-stock acquisition is nobody engages in that unless they have belief in the company, the stock they're getting.
Yeah.
So I imagine that you take this as a bit of a sign of strength, of gathering strength, that a company has decided, I'll jump on to your bandwagon and no cash needed.
No, absolutely. And look, and I think that it's important to note that they did that based on over a year relationship. We've been acting as a sales agent for Zest, that company that we acquired, for over a year. So they know what we're capable of. They know our business. They've been following the stock. We know them. And let's say that they're in a very fast-growing market. they potentially had other offers, yet they chose to go with us. And I'm grateful for that trust. And it's a wonderful business that they've created there. It's very complementary to what we do. They have been together with us growing that business well, but they've been outsourcing and buying their input materials from other parties. We are now able to produce these input materials so we can improve margins. We now can put our full sales and marketing power behind it and grow that business. And that faith and trust that they have in us to be able to execute on these things is what made them make that decision. And you're absolutely right. It's a big gamble. They spent time building that company, and this was an all-stock transaction with a long-term earnout that they need to hit. So there's a lot of mutual trust that is going on there for sure.
So let's talk about your financials briefly. Your last financials are out, a $2 million loss, to characterize it in 3 words or less. Where does that project for you over the next quarter and the quarter after that?
Look, project is a very good keyword to use here, and we have to use a trajectory and factor in how the trajectory has evolved over time. We have been constantly improving on all metrics that are important. I think revenue is important, but gross profit and adjusted EBITDA loss or profit are much more important. We need to continue doing more with less. So we're always balancing that out. You can see that our gross profit is improving, our loss is narrowing, and and I think that if you look at the numbers, have identified the right path to bring us to break even and profitability. Now, could there be things that we cannot predict and will happen and will delay things? Yes. Are there risks? Always. What I can say is that we put in place certain contingencies that we're constantly working on to be able to balance these risks, balance these unknowns, and continue that trajectory. Again, if we look at one thing, it is we have been trying and working on building a business that is based on fundamentals. No hype. I'm not selling, cultivation capacity. We never did. Gross profit. How much money are we making? How much money are we spending? Right now it's at a loss. Continuously narrow that while maintaining market share and being innovative, because it's not only short-term profitability that we need to look at, but long-term sustainability and profitability. And that is where we want to go. That is what I believe our trajectory is indicating, and that is what we'll continue fighting for.
So just briefly looking through your financials, your losses reduced from quarter to quarter. Your revenues are up from quarter to quarter. Your margins at gross margin at 29%. Your EBITDA loss improved by 600,000. So there's a lot of positivity in a lot of different metrics. How's your cash on hand? Because as those losses reduce, you're still going to have losses for a bit.
Absolutely. That's a fair question. Would I want to have more cash in the bank? Absolutely. A buffer is always good when you have unexpected reality or unexpected situations and a difficult reality. It allows us to take bigger bets and bigger gambles. But not only the cannabis industry is experiencing a cash crunch. Any company on this planet, except maybe an AI company of recent times, is struggling with cash and conserving its capital. So we are running a very tight ship. We are constantly monitoring our cash balance. There are certain contingencies in place that we have that will allow us to offset any risks or any unexpected situations, such as the equity line of credit that we still have with Illumina partners with whom we have a very good relationship. Now, we're always trying to balance dilution and the need for capital.
Yep.
So we are very mindful of that. I want to be cautious. Obviously, we cannot run out of cash, but I also don't want to create dilution without considering it.
Sure.
So we'll balance those things. Our cash balance is something that can always be improved, but we're controlling our budget, we're controlling our cash outflow, and we're running a tight ship. And I believe that it'll allow us to achieve our milestones moving forward.
I'll put this to you in very direct terms because I think that your reputation over the last several years has shown that you're able to answer direct questions and that you're not afraid to fight the hard fight. Does Lifeist survive as is without a major cash injection over the next 3 quarters?
Over, I think, a major cash injection, yeah, it will survive. Do we need the small cash injections here and there when opportunities arise, or that we need to offset certain things? That's probably needed, and that's something we've done over the past few quarters. And I know that we've taken a lot of flack for it, right? But we also have to look at the flip side. I don't want to go in and dilute everything to the bone. I'll take what we need and keep running a tight ship. So I believe that yes, we will survive over the next quarters and bring this company to safe havens, safer shores, and expand from there. Again, could there be unexpected things that I can't predict right now? Always. But if I look at what I know today, I believe that we will.
Is a rollback an inevitability?
I don't see a benefit of rollbacks. I know a lot of companies are doing it right now. Most of them are doing it for to maintain their listings. We don't have a listing to maintain and to do a superficial, this type of artificial increase of our share price. I do think that having a low share price and a high big float creates a easier. It creates an easier target for I would say day traders and algo traders to kind of move things around a little bit. So it has pros. It definitely has cons. Right now, it's not something that I see as inevitability. We looked at the option. We haven't pulled the trigger yet. I always prefer real, organic share price growth tied to fundamentals and the success of the company. We don't have a sword hanging above our necks or heads that would require us to do so artificially.
Got it. Over the next 6 months, what can people expect from Lifeist in terms of general direction? More acquisitions, more tightening of the belt, game changers?
Okay, let's start from the first one, get to the most interesting one. More acquisitions. Look, right now there are no companies that we're targeting for an acquisition and negotiating with. That being said, if there is a good opportunity that we believe will create a 1 + 1 = 3, we'll always evaluate it. We'll do our DD and we'll do the right analysis, what is in the best interest of the company and shareholders, and take action there. Tightening of the belt will always continue. Always continue. When there's so much uncertainty in the market, yes, we will do so. We will cut wherever we can cut, as long as we're not harming the business and its ability to grow into the future. I don't want to be penny wise, pound foolish, but I also never spent frivolously and never will. And game changers, that's my favorite, right? I always want to have those. Now I know that those silver bullets or overnight successes are not a thing. So we're constantly working to improve things. That being said, there are certain things that we're working on that I'm really, really excited about, both on the cannabis side, but more so on the nutraceutical side. And if we're able to succeed with those, everything that we've worked on, all the, I would say, foundations that we've built will lend themselves to accelerate the business in a way that I would be very excited to follow. So I hope to be able to deliver game changers. Absolutely.
In the next quarter, you're going to be judged on very, very precisely. If that loss is reduced or even eliminated, dare we say, if the things that you've purchased show growth in revenue, if the nutraceuticals adds to your bottom line in a meaningful way, there's a lot of things going on here that, if they go well, this would be the quarter where people would start recognizing and paying attention in a big way. Are you confident that this is that quarter?
I think things take a bit more time, right? I don't want to say that, oh, we're going to have an explosive quarter, both to avoid providing
This is the difference between you and the man bun right here.
Yeah.
Man bun would have been like pounding the table. Hey, this is it. Get on the train. Toot, toot. You're the one that's saying, you know what? We're building a business.
I always believe in under promise, over deliver. If I can't control it, I won't make a commitment. We still have a month to go within the quarter. Things can happen. And again, we're building things that take time. I know that once I made the statement, it's a marathon, not a race, and the market destroyed me for that statement.
Right.
But if we look back at when I said it and where we are today, every single quarter, and if we look at the trajectory of quarter over quarter, yeah, our business is seasonal. Certain quarters are better than others, and we have spikes and ups and downs. But if you plot a trajectory, we've been very consistent, very consistent. And when you see other companies going into the negative gross margins, losses widening, revenue is not growing, gross profit is not growing, we're doing the opposite of that. Everything is moving in this direction. So it's not a hockey stick going up, and within 2 nights, it's it's an overnight success and everybody got rich.
Right.
It's a long play, right? And if that is what people want to see, if they want to invest in a business that has made promises in the past and delivered on most of them, we haven't been able to deliver on everything. And to be honest, we're not perfect, but we keep fighting, we keep swinging, and that trajectory that we've created is very visible. Take the data, plot it, and see how it moves. If you believe that statistical significance is a thing, if you believe that numbers don't lie, then I think that that's what people should look at.
Certainly, the big boys in the industry write off $1 billion in facilities and product and subsidiaries that they're shutting down every quarter. They'd love to have a $2 million loss on a Q2. It's really, it's about where you're headed, and they seem to be still headed that way. And you're kind of like, you've a long road of flat, maybe a little bit up, as people sort of get to see the cut of your jib.
Yeah. Look, massive losses with other companies, massive, and nothing in their financials demonstrates that they figured out how to reverse those losses. So they sat on mountains of cash, but no strategy. Mountains of cash, but no ability to execute against the strategy. So again, we have faced many challenges over the past 5 years. The fact that I'll try to be cautious, but you said, no one believed that you would survive. And there were days that could have been true. There were many challenges in the past that could have been, destructive. But if you look at that and see where we are today, then that should give confidence. We're able to face the abyss time and time again and come out stronger. And we will continue trying to do that until one of two things happens. We succeed, or we go into that abyss. I believe that we will succeed. I truly do. But we always have to be wary.
I'm going to give credit where it's due, man. I thought you'd already failed and dropped off the planet. And I've been just looking at other sectors than cannabis for a long time now. But to see you still in there, still bailing water out of the boat, still plugging holes, still rowing, while almost everybody else has just been like, peace, I'm out of here. I'm going to go set up an AI company.
Yeah.
Man, I credit to your family for sticking with you through it. Credit to you for sticking through it. And the shareholders that are in there still underwater and hoping that you can do something for them, man. Like, I had a meeting with a mining explorer back in the day, young company. These guys walked in the room. I thought they were the interns, right? And they had a little mining exploration property that 3 other companies had previously and fucked up. And so the first question to me was, what do you think? Should we change the name so that we don't have that stigma from before? And I said, no, man, lean into it. Because if you guys win, not only will you have made a victory, but you will have turned that piece of shit that you're sitting on into a victory. And that will be worth 10 other victories, right? You'll be the rock stars of the show, the guys that finally managed to figure out what no one else could. And to their credit, they did exactly that. That company was called Integra Gold, and they sold for a couple of $100 million. And now they're the big boys of the industry because of that reputation that they built of being the guys who can come in on other people's flaming dumpster fires and turn it into something good.
Yeah.
If you can manage to pull this off, man, you can write your own ticket going forward. And if you fail, everybody's going to be like, well, it was Namaste. Who was ever going to save that? So you're actually, I think, on a thing where as much as you've taken the slings and arrows, as much as you're bruised, man, with everything, I hope you pull it off, because it will be an instructive lesson to other guys in the public company sphere that the way to really build a reputation, yeah, it's great to get an exit and make money for everybody, but it's also great to stick around when it's hard and easier to go away and turn that thing into something where maybe people out there are 98% down on their money. Maybe if you do the best you can do, you're only going to get them back a 5x on where they are right now. And they'll have still lost 90%, but that's something. That's that's real man shit. So anytime you need a little bit of a boost to get the message out on something, count me in. I'm here for you. There should be more like you.
I appreciate that. We'll continue working hard to earn this trust and the kind words. I appreciate it, and we'll continue doing this.
And I'll make sure that everybody's aware here, not paid content. This is two guys that have been through a bit, figuring out that they're actually on the same side, which I think is great.
Definitely.
Thanks, man. We'll talk again.
Thank you. I hope so. Thank you very much.
Meni Morim from Lifeist Wellness. It is LFST is the ticker symbol. And you know what, man, at 2.5, 3 cents, throw some cash in there. Roll the dice, see what happens, because it's been at that price or thereabouts for a while. And the only risk that I can really see here is that the runway runs out from you. But I would have said that 5 years ago. So you seem to be someone who can figure out how to keep the landing gear up.
Never stop hustling. We'll always keep pushing, and take a chance. We might surprise you.
Let's talk soon.
Thank you.